Welcome to EIPIP Meeting 92. On agenda, we have some items to be discussed, some open issues, and then we will get into some pull requests which are open, but they are with respect to final EIPs. So we will perhaps get some solution and thoughts from EIP editors, whether to merge that or close the PRs. We will have discussions from the past meeting, which will also include the EIP ERC depot split. Then we'll have EIPS Insight, followed by editing office hour and review action items from the past meeting. So here the first item is a topic group. Since past few meetings, we have been discussing about the split of EIP ERC repo, and currently this is in work in progress. I know in the last meeting, we discussed about having a meeting of EIP editors to discuss more about it. Panda, if you would like to briefly update us where we are on that, and if we have that meeting, what are we planning to take care of?
So that meeting, so there's a few things. One, the EIP review bot is not in a state that can be kind of like no changes to accommodate the split will be able to be made, but or will be able to be merged into actual split repositories by the in 7 days. Additionally, we can't do the website updates on our own. We have to actually get some people from the ethereum.org team in order to do that. As such, really the only things we can do during that meeting are actually split the repositories and transfer a bunch of pull requests.
Just to be clear, for you mentioned about we might want to have some ethereum.org team member to take care of certain things. I think we can have that. There is a participant. I don't see him on the call today, but he was in the last call. If you want, we can extend the invite to him. And if any support from ethereum.org team will be needed, we can perhaps take care of that.
Sure. We have a calendar invite. Greg, would you mind actually in Discord DMing me or Sam just your email address so that we can forward on the invitation to you?
Right. I had to find my mute button and I have a mouthful of apple. An invitation to what? I'm sorry.
This is the meeting in 7 days where we are going to be doing the actual repository split itself, none of the CI, because the CI isn't in a place where we can do the split, and we're probably not going to be doing any of the website related stuff for because we need someone to actually do the configuration stuff.
And what would be my job?
The job would just kind of, I guess, the reason we're having, I imagine there's probably going to be some debate as to, well, we want this one in the ERCs. No, we want this one in the EIPs. And so kind of just like the more people there, actually, I guess the more people there, the more discussion there's going to be, but like the fairer the discussion would be.
I'm so tired of this discussion.
I kind of agree. Like there is definitely
basically we're basically working hard to do something I never wanted to do in the first place.
I am inclined to agree with you.
All I could do was try to reduce the damage.
I'm inclined to agree with you here, but it's being done.
Okay. We're talking next week.
We're talking next week, EIPIP time, kind of Wednesday at 9 Central Time. That would be 10 Eastern Time. Like, I don't know. Is it 14 UTC?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So
I don't
7
know.
days, 14 UTC.
Why don't I just say no rather than saying maybe and saying no in the end anyway?
Okay.
I'm hammered. We've got our seed funding and we're trying to work every waking hour. Yeah, we've got a
Seed
bit
funding for what?
for a startup.
Oh, cool.
That Ethereum is only at the edges. We take Ethereum in payment, but internally it's nothing much to do. So
Cool. Good luck.
and so I'm busy trying to build a very secure VM that can run Python. Good luck. Sam is probably giggling.
Anyway, yeah. So in terms of actually stuff that would need to be done for the split, the list is quite long, considering that there is also this request to split the websites, which I'm still very firmly against and would veto if I felt that that veto would actually do anything.
Oh, too. Why in God's name split the websites?
Yeah. I think if I remember correctly, like I'm sorry if I am misrepresenting your viewpoint here, but the argument here is that one, it might be a little bit more work to make it happen, considering the repositories themselves will be split. There might be a bit more, and the argument is also that the user experience would be better because you don't actually have to sift through any of the EIPs that you don't care about, which I find to be an extraordinarily odd argument because you don't have to do that anyway if you just use the search functionality that's already available in my rewritten version of the website, which Light Client did not accept for admittedly somewhat fair reasons, although those reasons are now outdated because VPress is now in a stable release. By the way, for anyone that doesn't know what my rewritten website is, would you mind if I just shared a link to it in the chat?
Sure.
Okay, here we go. Come on. So there we are. It's just the EIP's website, but rewritten in VPress so that it looks A, prettier, and B, loads faster, and C, is actually in a status that we can actually develop on, which the Jekyll website currently nobody knows how to completely like if we needed to add an entirely new plugin. I don't think any of us had like none of us are Ruby experts. I am the closest one to being able to make major changes to the Jekyll website, but even then, like I'm not able to make that big of changes, and that also kind of goes into another problem with what splitting the website would entail, and that's that, well, there's nobody to maintain the EIP's side of the website. They need to find someone to learn probably an entirely new language. I guess there's around three. Sorry?
What possible objection is there to this?
I really don't know. I wish Light Client was here.
What do they want to split from what?
They want to have eips.ethereum.org and ercs.ethereum.org.
Huh?
Like,
We have six panels here and they don't like one of them.
is anyone here in favor of having two websites? And if so, would you mind speaking up?
I'm in favor of having two websites, not because I want to have EIP and ERCs showing up on two websites. I generally am in favor of competing, of like having people people have access to different approach to see to see EIP and ERC. So I want ERCs and EIPs to
That's
show up
possible with just
on
one.
all of them.
That's possible with just one website, though. I can easily just change the layout file or create a different layout file that changes depending on whether or not it files in the ERC's repository or the EIP's repository. This would require about 10 lines of code. Would anyone like me to go ahead and get the framework there so that we can have a kind of I guess repository dependent layouts?
I think you're kind of debating a ghost right now because like
I
Matt
am
is
in fact
Matt wants to
yeah.
do the split, so I think we can just table this until the actual meeting we have with Matt next week, and then
Yep.
we can hammer all this out then, because I don't think we're going to make any progress on it without Matt here.
Yeah. I guess, can we move on to number 273? The deadline's passed and everyone has voted yes. Doesn't that mean that the quorum has now been reduced to the 3 yeses and it passes?
So we're gonna stop talking about ERCs and EIPs for now, and then 273 is the next open thing. We have 1, 2, yep. So yeah, this one we can close. Everybody who has said something on it has agreed with it, so we can close it. The actual pull request implemented, I think, was already merged, so it's kind of pointless. So 274, let's take a look at that one. So this is renumber EIP 5000. All right, so you have vote no. Okay. This is a fun one. This is the renumbering the EIP. So, does anybody have anything they want to add on renumbering EIP 5000 before we stop talking about it forever?
Well, I mean, there's no consensus yet, so it's not closed. The deadline's passed, but that just means the quorum is reduced to the number of active people, and there's
Yep.
2 yeses and 2 noes.
So we don't need unanimous, right? That's kind of the whole point of having the keeper of consensus.
Yeah, we don't need
So-
unanimous, but we do need consensus. And the keeper of consensus can only decide when consensus has been reached. It evidently hasn't because it's tied.
It's tied on votes, right? So we have 2 for renumbering, 1 against, and then Victor, you're in support of renumbering, and then I'm in support of renumbering. So, I mean, if nobody else has anything to add here, I would say that this, like, we would merge it.
So I'm just going to reiterate, kind of summarize the points, kind of, I believe, that are for and against it. For renumbering, it's that it kind of sets a precedent that if you find a loophole that like allows you to do something like renumber your EIP to something nice, or like any other loophole, that you get to kind of abuse it. It also, I guess, kind of makes editors look bad for like accepting what could be considered some form of like preferential treatment. The arguments against renumbering, and I am again against renumbering, is 1, it wasn't actually against EIP 1 at the time. 2, yes, and 2, the correct thing to do in response to something like this is to modify EIP 1 to prevent anything similar from happening in the future. would everyone here say that that's an accurate categorization of breath points?
I think that's
Characterization.
reasonable. Yeah.
Does anyone have anything to add? Well, I guess I'd have one thing to add to the no, and that's that we can't set the precedent that rules can be changed retroactively, which I think we should set the precedent that if something is okay at the time it's done, we can't just subsequently be like, oh, that doesn't feel right. We can't have that, and punish someone for something that was totally okay when they did it. Was anyone swayed by either point?
I'm still in favor of renumbering.
I'm still against renumbering.
All right. With no other comments, assuming nobody else wants to make them, and the comments on the pull request being the latest, I will go ahead and merge that pull request.
Well, it's still tied 3-3. There is no consensus here.
3-3?
Yeah, we've got you voting yes, renumber. We've got me voting no. We've got Lifetime voting no. We've got Victor voting. Hold on. Victor
Support
voting yes.
PR, yeah.
We've got Abo Goathab. I totally butchered his name probably. Voting no. That's 3-3.
I didn't think they were an editor.
So we are considering editors voting here only, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then we have you yes, me no. Is G11 governing or not?
He is an editor, yes.
Yes, but is he a governing editor or not? Basically, does he have voting power?
Oh yeah, there's that whole debate. Where do we land on that?
I think we landed that anyone, well, the intent was that anyone in the governance section of the EIP editors.yml file has a vote.
All right.
So does it mean that we recently had votings for who can be editors? So whoever are selected in that list and continues to serve as an editor should have this governance power, like governing power, and his or her vote should be counted.
So I think there's kind of either two ways of there's two ways of doing this. The reason why the EIP review bot can merge pull requests is that I delegated it the power to do so. The config file itself is just a representation of who has the power to do what. And in and of itself, the EIP review bot delegates some of its power to the people in that file. And so I guess we can work backwards and say that therefore anyone in the governance section is an editor, anyone that's not is, for the purposes of the EIP1 definition of editor, not an editor, and for the purposes of are they really an editor? Yeah, they're an editor. So it's confusing and probably should be made more clear.
I agree to that. I think for the time being, if people are open to accept this concept, perhaps what we can do is, apart from bots, let's talk about human here. Whoever are listed as EIP editor in EIP1 should be considered for voting, and their their opinion should be mattered for, at least for this call for input process in place. Is my suggestion here. I don't know what other people think.
So there, it is up in the air whether or not people that are in the government section or not in the government section can vote. Because for one thing, we had all those call for inputs for editor removals that Sam opened. And one argument could be made that when people were voted either kind of yes or no to having them removed as an editor, when it was voted no, they aren't removed as an editor, that kind of implies that they are an editor according to the charter and therefore can vote. The other argument is they can't actually have any effect on whether or not PRs that modify a living EIP, such as EIP1, are merged or not. The intent, like at least according to Light Client, that when Victor was brought on as an editor, was that he couldn't have a vote. I don't know if that's still the case. I would argue that he should have a vote. He has clearly demonstrated that he is a very competent, very engaged member of the EIP project, and almost certainly deserves a vote. In fact, everyone in the EIP editors.yml file, I believe, deserves a vote.
Yeah, I think everybody listed on EIP1 should be the set of editors. Like, that's the only thing that works for me.
I mean, I
Right.
guess the best thing to do here is create a call for input that's for, hey, let's define kind of an EIP editor as, well, let's define the initial set of EIP editors, right, that have voting power. And from there, we can use the editor add removal CFI process to keep that list up to date. But just so that we're on the same page as to what the initial list of editors is. I mean, again,
You can't
there were
vote.
all those CFIs for editor removals that you opened.
Yeah,
And
everybody survived, so I think
and yeah, everyone survived. But more to the point, even Light Client voted no, let's not remove Victor as an editor, which strongly implies that Victor was an editor and still remains an editor.
yes. So I've been operating under the assumption that our EIP1 is our governance document, and the editors listed there are the editors. But yeah.
There are.
I think we should continue like as long as possible to have that as governance document. Editors listed in the EIP1 is, I mean, our editors. The one caveat here was, which I understand, is like they may or may not have permission to merge the pull request. That is, I think, a separate topic. We can perhaps talk about it, but as long as governance is involved, especially if we talk about Victor's case, the only thing for him was that he would not be maybe actively involved for core EIPs, but other than core EIPs, he was definitely involved in every other set of EIPs, interface, networking, ERC.
Except he's not listed in the governance section, the EIP editors.yml file. And I'm
that's maybe because we do not have a specific merging power for ERC as of now, but I hope
yes,
that would be fixed when we have.
We do actually have a separate section for merging ERCs versus interface versus networking versus core versus informational versus meta. There is actually very fine-grained detail in EIP Review Bot for this stuff.
Can we can we have respective PRs, Victor? Maybe we can have that and let's see where we are now. I know things were different in the past, but a lot have changed in over a period of 2-3 months.
Okay, for the purposes of this meeting, let's just consider all of the editors in EIP1 to be voting editors. In that case, wouldn't the PR to renumber EIP 5000, either it would be 4-3 in favor of renumbering or 3-3 tied. Either way, I'd say arguably there is not the rough consensus needed for the keeper of consensus to determine that consensus has been reached.
Why do you say that?
Because there's about just under half of people that disagree with it. That's not
Yeah,
consensus by any stretch of the imagination.
no, like rough consensus, it can be, right?
What is the definition for rough consensus here? Because I thought that rough consensus was like, okay, there's a few objections, but we need to get this merged anyway, even though that there are some objections, we can sort them out later. Not half of people actually just don't want this and are strongly opposed to it.
So I can read it here. So working groups make decisions through rough
Basically,
consensus process. IETF
Basic-
can.
Basically, I didn't think that the keeper of consensus had the power to determine what consensus was.
That is their well.
I thought it was
Yeah.
to determine when consensus has been reached.
So I think it is there for a reason, like all editors are putting their faith in the keeper of consensus. So whatever decision at the end is made should be acceptable by the group. At the same time, definitely there should be a valid reason for going ahead with it, like the decision making. Rough consensus could be like, even if it's like kind of very close tie or not all of the editors may have voted. So there are some gray area that we are giving permission to the keeper of
Okay.
consensus to maybe take a decision there.
Okay, just one quick thing. Before we merge the EIP 5000 renumber PR, you're aware that this effectively does set the precedent that we can retroactively change EIP 1, right? Like say, okay, that is basically, even though that was allowed, then it's no longer allowed. Because that is the precedent that's set here.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think the precedent that I'm okay setting is that the EIP editors can do whatever the hell they want whenever they want. But these are generally the rules we're going to follow.
That to me doesn't seem well, that is kind of not the precedent I'd like to set, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know my vote does not count here, but what I meant to say here is like EIP editors can or should do the numbering thing before the PR is merged as draft. I kind of agree with
the PR is already
Gavin.
merged.
Yeah, so
The EIP is already merged with the EIP number 5000.
yeah, kind of late for that. Maybe we can have this process. Yeah, please go ahead.
I mean, I guess the best thing we can do is wait for it to go stagnant. And I mean, I'm kind of the opinion that if, like, at some point we should start deleting stagnant EIPs, right? They will still remain in the Git history, but we don't need, say, 3-year-old stagnant EIPs in the repository and still being published. And I feel like we should set a threshold for that. And then problems like this will just go away. Once they go to stagnant and then they go to, because the authors of EIP 5000 have simply gone AWOL. They're not maintaining it. They're quite
That's a core proposal, right?
That's a what?
That's a core proposal, right?
Oh, sorry, couldn't catch the core or cool.
Yeah, core. Yeah, I'm just wondering if that proposal is in active pursuant anymore or not.
Quite frankly, I think it's, I mean, considering that no progress has been made on it, I'm kind of not in favor of renumbering, but I'm actually starting to get in favor of just deleting it just because deleting it once it reaches stagnant. The EIP process shouldn't be too hard for them to just submit another EIP. So basically, do we accept kind of once the proposal stagnates, then it gets deleted as kind of a compromise?
No.
Okay.
No deleting EIPs.
Even stagnant ones?
Delete from repo or just not display on the rendered version?
Actually delete from the repository, but it remains in the Git history.
I think that would not be fair to many authors, because getting stagnant is a status people can bring back, they can resurrect. If we start deleting, they will lose this opportunity.
Okay, how about this though? Since all of these EIPs are still in the Git history, why don't it's therefore possible to verify whether or not a particular proposal was stagnant or not. That doesn't mean we need to actually keep all the stagnant EIPs actually in the repository. We just need to have a kind of a workflow for stagnant EIPs to be brought back from stagnant. But I don't think we need to have the EIP number therefore still reserved. We just need to kind of have a process to bring those EIPs back.
I think this is a little off topic from whether we're
We are-
renumbering.
Agreed. Yeah,
5000.
this is like
Yeah.
way off topic. We should get back for today's this
I'll
proposal
create a proposal.
274.
I'll create a proposal. But yes, can we therefore agree that there's not actually okay, I guess we have different definitions of rough consensus. My interpretation of what rough consensus meant was that okay, it like we kind of there might be some opposition to certain parts of it, but it's still not too dissimilar from what we originally had, which was anyone can veto it. Instead, now it's anyone can kind of raise objections, and once the keeper of consensus has determined that those objections have been kind of sufficiently dealt with,
Do you feel like
then
your objections have been heard? I guess is the important part here.
I feel that my objections have been heard, but I don't feel that they've been completely understood. I feel like the implications of we can just do whatever the heck we want haven't been completely thought out, because I will say core EIP wise, the reason that there are core EIPs is because the EIP process is considered to be at the very least somewhat fair. That the editors are bound by a certain set of guidelines that they have to accept proposals, and that basically that there's kind of a certain degree of legitimacy that is kind of earned by not doing whatever the heck we want. And so that's kind of why I feel like we should not set the precedent that we can do whatever the heck we want.
I do. I hear what you're saying, and I think I understand what you're saying. And I think we should endeavor to be the most fair and just that we can.
Would you say that that given that the rules were what they were at the time, it is fair to kind of change an EIP number, even though there was nothing that was technically done that was wrong at the time. Sure, there was controversy, and now we would consider it, if it happened today, to be wrong and probably worthy of renumbering. But at the time, it wasn't against the rules.
So why are we wasting time on this? What's done is done. Just let it go and move on.
What has been done?
A number got assigned to a document.
Yeah, a number got assigned to a document.
So what?
Well, I mean, the argument for renumbering is that
I'm sorry. I've heard the arguments that they go around and around, that it wasn't against the rules when it happened. It wasn't a big deal. Changing the number just is more confusion. It's taking a lot of our time. We spent more time arguing about numbers than anything else.
Well, the reason why we are currently debating it is because Sam feels like consensus has been reached, and I do not feel that consensus has been reached.
Well,
Well,
now that Greg has said something, I feel the consensus is going the other way.
yeah, I slept really badly last night, so I'm slowly waking up to what the issue is on this one.
So we are now
But
tied
generally on numbers, it's like
4-4.
stop with it.
So, Greg, your opinion is that we leave it as EIP 5000.
Yeah, just who
All
cares?
right.
So now we are tied 4-4.
So I'm just going to we've spoken way too long on this. I am saying officially as keeper of consensus that we are closing this pull request. Consensus is to not change it.
Okay.
All right. With that, we can move on to the next number, that is 275. Most of them suggested yes, and the deadline has passed.
I mean, I will reiterate why I think it's. I mean, I say yes because it meets the requirements as set forth in EIP 5757.
I'm sorry, I think I just missed. Can you please repeat?
It meets the requirements for an acceptable source. Like, I get that, like client says, it's not been updated for several forks and that bringing it up to date post-merge would be a huge effort. That doesn't change the fact that it is free. It's a free source and commits are immutable, and therefore this meets the requirements to be accepted.
Sam, would you like to maybe just confirm, or if you have other thoughts?
Sorry, I'm just updating my notes here. Give me 1 second.
The problem is that, again, White Client is the only one that's saying no here, and he's not on the meeting.
And the date has passed. That's one other important thing here. So whatever thoughts and like voting has been collected should be.
Again, the deadline only the deadline is only there to make sure that things will eventually pass. Basically, that if someone, most likely AXIC, if we're going to be totally honest at the moment, doesn't actually vote on something, that it's not held up until, say, Alex or whoever doesn't vote and starts to vote on.
Greg, should we allow links to the yellow paper? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say there's a strong enough consensus. I guess, Victor, links to yellow paper.
Strong in favor.
Okay, that seems pretty strong consensus.
All right. So we can close it by marking it yes. And the next one is number 276. I'm sharing the link right here in the chat. Oh, I added 275. Command V6. Okay. So this is for 4804 Web3 URLs, updating EIP 4804.
So what happens when the quorum gets reduced to 0 editors?
That's a good question.
We did not receive any input in this one. Oh,
Because the quorum is now 0 editors.
Oh, that was the 4804. Let me develop an opinion on this quickly.
Shall we have a different between consensus yes, consensus no, a third kind of status, which is no consensus, and we will table this until certain time. I think it's
Not
important
just
to
keeping an
differentiate
issue
that.
open. That's literally just keeping the issue open.
I think there is a respective PR for this particular case. We can let the PR be there and get stagnant if no one is coming up in strong favor or strong against, especially from the EIP editors communities for this particular topic.
Wait, hold on. This is just adding an EIP. Why does this require consensus again?
Yeah.
I think because that is
Oh, it's a final.
final EIP, yeah.
No, it's adding a new EIP.
Yeah, so the
why?
EIP, that pull request used to be editing an EIP, and they changed it to adding a new EIP.
So this doesn't require consensus
No,
anymore.
not anymore.
Okay, we can just close
doesn't
that.
require consensus, right?
Yeah, just close that call for input.
Okay. It is fun. We are at least reaching on decision and moving faster. The last one here is active, actually, 283 that was opened yesterday. It's about accidental function in ERC 223. I see that there are already some inputs there. Want to discuss or have thoughts here?
Well, is my chat? Yes, it is. I was the one that opened it, or rather opened the PR. So basically, when reviewing the adding ERC 223 as an actual EIP, it used to just be a GitHub issue and not a real EIP. I've noted that effectively there was this function standard that was just out of scope of the EIP. ERC 223 is a standard for kind of a standard that is designed to address some of the problems that ERC 20 has. And one of the functions that ERC 223 originally had was standard to kind of differentiate between whether or not the token was an ERC 20 token or an ERC 223 token, because otherwise they might look somewhat similar. I said that was out of scope for the EIP because, well, it's not an interoperability EIP, and you can just use one of the other ones available, like 165 or Victor's EIP for interoperability. And Dexterin agreed because it is in fact out of scope for the EIP. In a later PR, Dexterin kind of I either mistakenly included the function again or kind of forgot that it was removed, or I guess the PR itself kind of suggested that like he had a slight misunderstanding as to what my objection actually was, and it got put into the EIP again. The EIP became final, but with the actual function that should have been removed still there. And so my PR is to just remove the function that's out of scope and not sufficiently defined. Because it says identifier, I'm using air quotes because identifier is not defined anywhere. Only that the identifier for ERC223 is some string. So it can be used sometimes to detect whether or not something is ERC223. It is an odd standard, but I could see it being its own EIP, but it does not belong in ERC223.
I guess the question is, anyone opposed to this? We still have some time to collect inputs from other editors, whoever have not submitted their response here. I see Sam, Panda, Victor, and Gajendra Singh have already added their thoughts. Galvin, sorry, Greg, you have any thoughts on this one?
No, not really. Or not yet.
All right, so the deadline date is November 16th. I know there are more editors, Matt, Axek, and Greg, they have not added. If anyone has any thought, perhaps they can go ahead and add it. The issue number here is 283.
So, Greg, do I confirm that you are abstaining?
I think we can wait till the end of the date. If it does not come back, we can consider that as, yeah, abstaining.
Greg, you said
All
that
right.
you don't care, right? So that's an abstain? I just want to make sure that we have as many votes as we can, whether or not they're for or against. Again, this deadline thing was more designed as a in case like an editor just is not available and is not designed to be the default thing. We're
The
trying to
default
get everything.
the default should be everybody just gives their opinion as soon as
Yes.
possible and we can move on.
And that's why I'm asking Greg whether or not he's abstaining or not.
I mean, this was just open yesterday, so we can perhaps give some time for people to like get the idea, realize the concept. And yeah, in case we do not hear back from Greg and others by the next meeting, we can see where we are all before the deadline. Totally got the concept of having a deadline. Deadline definitely helps us move past an issue, giving sufficient time for people to come back with their for and against argument. I think we are running out of the time today, so let's try to move fast a little bit. I have listed a few open pull requests next, which are the PRs to final EIPs. If anyone have thought on it, like the first one is PR number 7866, which is changing EIP 5773. It says that it is a typo fix. Anyone objects to that?
No, it is in fact a typo fix.
So we are good with that. Merging.
Oh, all of these are just fixing typos where people have misspelled overwritten, apparently.
Yes, so we can perhaps take a look and close at least all these PRs. We have a lot number of open PRs these days.
Oh, this one's for lifetime. Thank you, whoever has opened all these PRs for submitting these PRs.
These feel like bots doing this.
It does feel like bots doing this. I am absolutely fine if bots do this, however, this is constructive.
There was one time Oh, wow, so many different persons submitting repo of typo change.
Yeah, I'm almost certain these are bots, but that's fine. They are completely valid suggestions and deserve to be approved. So whoever made these bots, I think, yeah, that's thank you.
I am in favor of having bot fixing this. And I thought there was one person who submitted a very long list of typo fix of a lot of EIP, and I suggest them to split them up into different ones. The concerning part here, so I'm generally in favor of that. The concerning part is that I noticed that typos fixing are coming from different GitHub accounts. Did you notice
Yes, they
that?
could be
Yeah,
farming.
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
They could
I
be
think
farming.
I quite frankly, that's GitHub's problem, not ours.
They become our contributor
They do
um,
become
once they have the
contributors.
first one.
There is that a problem though?
I'm not
Actually, it could.
sure.
Yeah, it could in future. Like, unless that is a significant contribution, just a typo contribution could make them look like a contributor and can be, potential scammer or something like that. I'm not saying that this person or this bot is actually, but that is a possibility.
So we don't have any evidence this apart from the fact that the PRs were submitted close to each other by different user accounts with the same title, which definitely doesn't look good. But again, this is kind of anecdotal evidence and doesn't actually. So these are all kind of valid things, and I'm pretty sure that like again, this is actually kind of the contributions we want, right? These are exactly the kind of contributions we want people to do, and also if they're kind of doing CI for us, is that necessarily a bad thing?
I
They're
could suggest
basically
one thing here is like maybe checking out the GitHub account of these resources. Like if that is completely empty, then it could be a bot and could be possible scammer. But if they are not, just like, for example, I'm looking at 7840. I don't know,
I'm looking
user
at
who was
Shu.
suggested. Yeah. And it
So
sounds
I'm
like they are genuine, not kind of so
yeah.
bad.
So I'm looking at Shu or 86. They actually have the pull request shark badge, and so to me, this definitely looks like a bot that has probably just submitted a bunch of typo fixes. I let's see. Can I get the actual web view for this, please?
Well, we are running out of time. I would like to get this thing, under radar of EIP editors. Maybe they can take a look and
We've
respond to
already
it
approved the
accordingly.
PRs.
All right. So hopefully those will be merged, auto merge. If not, and if manual merge would be required, we can bring it back. I know there are a lot many other discussion points which we could not be able to take today. I'm just curious about one action item or decisions from the past meeting about superseding comment. Panna, did you get a chance to maybe take a look into it? I suppose the decision was you would be coming up with some pull request for that.
Oh yes, that. I can't remember. Did I make the pull request or not? I'm pretty sure I did. If
All
not,
right.
I
In
will
case you
make them.
did, yeah. In case you did not, or even if you did, it would be nice to have it added to the agenda for the next meeting. We can perhaps take it in the next one because we are out of time to discuss it here. Any final comments, thoughts from people they would like to share it today?
I mean, yeah, as the EIP split meeting is going to be in a week. I'm interested to see how this goes.
Absolutely. And I will DM you the email address of the resource from ethereum.org if you would like to invite him for the meeting. If you think it is needed, then only I will share the details with you.
Well, everyone on this meeting has disagreed with splitting the website now, or have at least determined that there is a better alternative available.
I see your point. Okay, in that case, we'll wait till the result coming up from the meeting planned on next Wednesday at 1400 UTC by EIP editors. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Hope to see you around. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.